just a minute. Anyway, so welcome to this session for Automated Market Maker, presented through the Web3 learning platform. Of course, my name is Benedict Olumesi. For those who don't know, I am based in Lagos, right? So this is my session on Automated Market Maker. So let's just go ahead and see what it is all about. So I'm just trying to get it to move to the, let me pause this and see. Sorry. Stop share. Hello? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
All right, okay, so sorry about that. So let me just continue. So an automated market maker is an underlying protocol used by decentralized exchanges that help promote, which also is an autonomous trading mechanism. So this eliminates the need for a centralized authority like exchanges and other financial entities. In other words, it allows the facilitation of transaction of digital assets without any intermediary that facilitates the exchange. So what is a market maker in essential, right? And these are liquidity providers. Liquidity also refers to the simplicity in terms of simplicity and quickness in terms of how an asset can be bought or sold. So typical example is your typical trading system whereby one trader wants to buy 1 Bitcoin and the centralized exchange oversees the trade, sees the trade and provides an automated system to find the seller. Now, trader B, who is also willing to sell a Bitcoin at the rate quoted by the trader, quoted by trader A, is also part of this exchange. So the exchange is acting as a middleman. So, for instance, if we take a look at some examples of this sort of exchange that we have today, you basically think about stocks. The stock market, you basically think about real estate markets, right? Whereby you have centralized exchanges that people come to buy a particular security, and there's somebody who facilitates the exchange, right? Those are what market makers are. So, so the current situation is that if you take that example and there is a situation whereby whereby there are no Bitcoin traders or Bitcoin sellers, what automatically happens in a market maker, right? So the liquidity of the asset in question, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Bitcoin or any security, is that the liquidity will be determined as a low supply, which means that it's less trading activity of the assets, right? And it's harder to buy or sell the assets. right? So this is where centralized exchange needs market makers. Like I said, buy and sell orders in retail investors and centralized exchanges are examples of this, right? So whoever provides liquidity of whatever security is the asset maker, is the market maker, whether it's securities, whether it's Bitcoin, in our examples, right? So like I said, traditional market makers were in the past were people who handle a lot of orders, and they were professionals, and in a particular system, right? So their trade is always based on the amount of volume of a security they had with them, whether it was retail, um, retail shares, or retail securities or real estate, right? But for each trade to have occurred between the market makers, right, is that there is a set of robust regulations that have been passed to help facilitate such trades. So if you take the Security and Exchange Commission in the US, you know that there are guidelines for every securities that needed to be traded, and there are procedures for facilitating each trade, right? So that's the idea of a traditional market maker. Now, why automated market maker is different, right? So these AMMs, for short, were introduced to remove intermediaries in the trading of crypto assets, right? Now, in the past, where we had human interactions between trader A and trader B, AMM you can think of them as a computer program that automates the process of providing liquidity, right? And this computer program are usually smart contracts, right? That use mathematical equations to define the price of crypto tokens and provide liquidity, right? So a very clear example of this is that in the old traditional market makers, you need trader A and trader B to be present to facilitate that exchange. Whereas in an AMM, you don't need another trader to be able to facilitate this trade. Instead, one trade is happening. A trader is making a transaction with a computer software, right? So yeah, the interaction is actually classified as peer to contract and not peer to peer, like in the old system, right? So the price you get for digital assets in our case is determined by a mathematical formula. And then we'll get back into the mathematical formula later on in our sessions. So who are these liquidity providers in the AMM, right? Anybody can be a liquidity provider. So there are certain requirements that are stipulated in the smart contract, which are developed by the smart contract writers. For example, we can take the Ether to the USDT trade. If a liquidity provider provides a predetermined amount of Ether and Theta tokens to the pool, right? He earns some fees from that trade in the pool. For instance, if I just give a glimpse into what a mathematical equation formula is that you have token X and you have token Y, and at the same time, the quantity of the tokens must always equals to K, right? And we'll get into this explanation, but you have two tokens and they must always equal to the amount of what K is, irrespective to facilitate what that transaction is, right? And we'll get into that more later in the sessions. So why are AMM important to investors, right? Why are they important to us? First of all, it's a system of liquidity where anyone can contribute. This removes the need for any intermediary and also helps lower transaction fees for investors. A high liquidity is essential for healthy trading activity. If there's less liquidity, it could cause slippage, and slippage could be determined by by percentages. If you've been able to see any of the AMM examples over there, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and everything, and try and do a transaction, you will see what a slippage value is usually calculated in percentage. We'll get into that later on. So a low liquidity rate introduces high volatility in prices of the asset, which is why the crypto market is always volatile, according to, and because of slippage, and according to a couple of other indicators such as high inflation rates by other securities as well. And so AMMs allow anyone to become liquidity providers, which comes with incentives, and liquidity providers always get a fraction of fees paid on transactions executed on the pool. So some liquidity providers, some AMM provide something called yield farming. And what is yield farming in essential, right? This is a provision whereby you provide token rewards, right, to people, to the protocol, right, and you earn a bonus yield through the practice called the yield farming, right? So to participate in this, you just need an appropriate balance of assets into the liquidity tool, meaning the same. If you go back again, the same X amount of digital asset versus the Y amount multiplied by Y amount of digital asset equals to the K, right? That's just think about that formula in short. So there are two types of assets: one digital asset named X, one digital asset named Y, and they must not surpass the total amount of K in the mathematical equation. So after the contribution is confirmed, the AM will automatically accrue token rewards to the liquidity provider, and he can claim that rewards on a regular basis. So far, the liquidity provider, the more the liquidity provider provides tokens, the more he earns, right? And so that's yield farming for short. So what's the future of AMMs, right? Though that this system was first developed in 2018, and they are well ingrained part of the DeFi ecosystem. Now, the latest versions of this AMMs have included automation tools for liquidity providers, which you can see generally from people from organizations like PancakeSwap and that sort of thing. So AMMs are more about providing greater liquidity between tokens. They are also about fostering more secure and mainstream markets. They always use smart contract technology to facilitate transactions more efficiently. And so far, it has been a successful process. Now, as the DeFi ecosystem space continues to improve and grow, right? AMMs have the potential to reach more investors. However, whatever innovation AMMs must ensure a high level of security and growth, right? And so AMM are core of the DeFi ecosystem and part of its progress. Any questions at the moment? Hello?
Yep. So this is super great. Any questions, guys, or any thoughts? Or we can make it as a discussion. So there is a question. Can you explain yield farming?
So, as they say, yield farming, right? It's if you take, for instance, interest rates, you have let's not say interest rate. I'm trying to remember a particular banking system whereby you provide your financial just the words have escaped me. So in the current banking system, right, you have sometimes a particular contract whereby you give your financial assets to the bank, and then there's an interest rate, right? That's fixed deposit. Yes, fixed deposit is a word, right? That's what it is described in Nigeria. I don't know what it is in your markets, right? So it's Nigeria, we know it as fixed deposit, right? So you put, for instance, 100,000, and the bank says, I take this 100,000, and in a year, I could give you back an interest of 2.5% on this 100,000, right? But every month I'll be paying a certain fee, right, to you for giving us this money, right? So you could say that 2.5% is a yield on the money that you've left in the bank. Now, if you take that into the decentralized finance system, right, into what AMMs do, if you participate in yield farming, right, remember I said you need to provide two tokens, right, the X token and the Y token. X token could be, for instance, a trade in USDT, and you want to get BNB Smart Chain coin. So you want to exchange X amount of USDT for BNB Smart Chain coin, right? But before that can be done, the liquidity provider, who you don't necessarily interact with at that point in time, would have provided those coins, those digital tokens for you to be able to do that trade, right? At a particular percentage to the protocol, to the protocol that organized the yield, that organized the trade, right? He has provided that at a certain fee to the protocol, and the protocol is going to pay him back because based on that trade, right? Based on that provision of those tokens, he has accrued some rewards, right, to himself by providing those tokens, right, at those certain rates. So that is basically the idea of yield farming. I hope it's clear. Is it clear? Okay, so well, I think for you to be able to, so let me get the question right. So the liquidity is securities and liquidity. It's provided by trade, right? It's not done every month. It's not necessarily done every month in the banking, like in the banking sector. It's done by trade. I think every protocol has its own definition of what systems they're going to be using, whether they'll be doing it every month or they'll be doing it on a trade on a by trade basis. But it's left for, that is some of the things we'll investigate later on in time of this course. Any other question?
I do have one, like you were talking about the mathematical formula.
Yep.
That was used to make the liquidity pools, right? So
Yep.
is it prone to the economic environment as such, or is it a fixed sum? Like I want to know if the mathematics varies according to the economy, or is it just fixed out there?
So for every trade to happen, the mathematical formula has to be embedded. It's based on the current rates between different coins, right? Different digital tokens. And so that rate, whatever it is going to be used in the mathematical formula to calculate how much you're going to get by the token you want, right? I'll just drop in the mathematical formula here, and then you could check it out. So it's x multiplied by y equals to k. X is the first token, y is second token, and it must always equal to k, which is the amount of money in the pool.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Any other question? All right then, Kieran.
Yeah, cool. So